Trendy art installations like these, that are all about doing it for the gram, have been popping up all over the world. These self-styled museums aren't technically museums. They don't preserve and display permanent collections of objects, but they can be a lot of fun. And the popularity of Instagrammable attractions has prompted actual museums to rethink how visitors interact with their collections. Many have done away with photography bans, for example, finding that selfie-friendly exhibits draw more visitors, including those who might not otherwise have come to the museum at all. So, how else is technology changing the way we interact with art? And what will all this mean for the future of art history? Hi, I'm Sarah Urist Green, and this is Crash Course Art History. If you've visited a museum recently, you probably saw people waiting to take selfies with the more famous artworks, or not waiting and getting right in the way of your viewing experience. The impact of social media is a pretty obvious example of the ways technology has changed our perception of art. But there are others that might be a bit less familiar. Almost 3,000 years ago, long before Instagram, a pair of enormous lion sculptures guarded an Assyrian temple. One eventually ended up in the collection of the British Museum, the other at a museum in Mosul, Iraq. Until 2015, when the terrorist organization ISIS stormed the Mosul Museum, taking sledgehammers to the lion and other pre-Islamic artworks. But today, the Mosul lion isn't completely lost. Two PhD students launched a project to gather anything that remained of it, broken pieces and crowdsourced photos, to model and print a 3D replica. This technology, paired with the collaboration of people from all over the world, helped recreate a part of the past. The Mosul lion is just one example of how technology can help us preserve cultural heritage. For another, let's travel from Iraq to ancient Egypt. While the Sphinx and pyramids get a lot of attention, there's another amazing feat of architecture that stood the test of time: the Karnak Temple Complex. It was built and added onto for more than 1,500 years in what's now Luxor, Egypt. It boasts the largest religious building ever constructed, about 13 times as big as Buckingham Palace. But it's hard to capture Karnak's original size and complexity in maps and simple images. It's changed drastically over time. As it is now, some parts have been moved and others are in ruins. And although Karnak is legally protected as a historic site, it's vulnerable to damage from weather and attacks by extremist groups, so we might not be able to engage with its rich history forever. But a 3D model called Digital Karnak makes the site's layers feel real. This project, originally out of the University of California, Los Angeles, uses 100 years of scholarly research to recreate 2,000 years of Karnak history. The model lets you travel through time. You can track how the complex expanded over centuries, check out the columns in the hypostyle hall, even peek in the catacombs. Of course, 3D technology can't recreate the exact experience of being inside Karnak in ancient times, what it smelled like, how sound echoed inside. But it helps us imagine what it was like to move through this space and preserves its history for future generations. And the internet has made this history more accessible than ever before. Let's move forward in time to the early 1940s in Harlem, New York. Here, the artist Jacob Lawrence made his famous Migration series, a collection of 60 paintings. They tell the story of the Great Migration, a massive movement beginning in the 1910s when millions of Black people moved from the American South to the North and Midwest in efforts to escape racial prejudice and find new opportunities. When Lawrence completed the paintings in 1941, they were displayed at a gallery in New York City, and then the set was acquired and split in two. Half moved uptown to the Museum of Modern Art, and the other half to the Phillips Collection in Washington, D.C. While the complete set has been brought together since then, you don't need a museum ticket or to travel between cities to experience the 60 panels as one. Along with the 2016 exhibition, the Phillips Collection launched an interactive website, linking Lawrence's momentous series with the events surrounding it. Technology can enhance our experience of art, adding much-needed context and depth and information you can't necessarily see just by looking. It also allows us to see art from anywhere in the world. Your town may not have an art museum, but thanks to technology, you don't even have to leave your couch to enjoy it. Digital spaces can't replace physical ones, but they do offer alternate pathways for engaging with art. When the COVID-19 pandemic began in 2020, some museums launched virtual tours so people could still explore galleries from home. Online exhibitions brought people together, like the Reimagined Public Art Project. Artists from around Los Angeles contributed work of all kinds music, sculpture, photography that explored what public art could mean as something not just for the real world, but for the virtual world too. But the biggest changemaker in the virtual world? Yep, we gotta circle back to social media. But not just for the reasons I mentioned at the start. With TikTok, Instagram, and more, history and art history has never felt more present. With smartphones and social media, we can capture and share historic moments as they happen. Like in late 2010, when a wave of protests against tyrannical governments began surging across the Arab world, protesters used social media to amplify their demands and share images of public art fast. The protests became known as the Arab Spring, and in the years since, its political impacts have varied. But the combination of art and technology that enabled it has remained essential to how communities make their voices heard. For artists, social media offers both opportunities and challenges. On the upside, it can be a self-curated gallery for promoting and selling their work. Sometimes that pays off, like for the painter Anna Wyant, whose work was discovered on Instagram in 2019 and has gone on to show in world-class museums and galleries. Her works now sell for millions of dollars. But on the downside, many artists are finding it harder to make a living and capture attention in image-saturated, algorithm-driven online spaces. And the growing presence of AI in creative fields leaves many artists wondering if they'll be replaced by machines that learn to make art based on their own work. Technology in art isn't completely good or completely bad. Like all the most interesting topics, it's complicated. So what will the future of art and art history look like? We can't know for sure, but we can see what direction they're going in. New technologies have been transforming art for ages, before the invention of photography with optical devices like the camera lucida, and certainly after with the experimental unfolding of photographic processes and early moving picture devices like the zoopraxiscope. Artists have explored and embraced new technologies at every step of the way, using film, recorded sound, radios, televisions, VHS and cassette tapes, laser discs even. As long as technology continues to evolve, artists will continue to find new ways of applying it. Today, through virtual reality, artists are finding new ways of immersing viewers in novel art experiences. Through the use of NFTs and artificial intelligence, artists are also helping us understand these new technologies and how they're impacting our worlds. In the face of climate change and environmental concerns, many artists are using recycled or found materials in their work so that their art can be more sustainable. Or they're re-examining the energy usage of crypto or NFT art. Technology is also expanding access to art and information, helping us reshape the entire field of art history. Art historians are rethinking how they teach and research, attempting to take off their upper-class Eurocentric goggles and explore more global perspectives. They're even using different tools to help build new ways of studying art history, like this series. Rather than presenting art history as a timeline of masterpieces and movements, one leading to the next, we're starting to view it as a vast, complicated web of materials reflecting the values and experiences of people from around the world. Learning about art history today means watching an area of study transform right before your eyes. We began this series with the idea of history itself not as a list of dates and events, but as a narrative we piece together from the materials that survive. Ideas about art are always shifting, shaped by how history gets told and who holds power. The art history we're familiar with began centuries ago with biographies of so-called great artists. But now, everyone has the power to access art from outside those arbitrary boundaries. You can even have your own canon, metaphorically speaking, of course. You get to decide what great art is for you and who the great artists are of the future. Don't forget, this whole art history thing is something we create together. Technology is dissolving time and space, and that's also what experiencing art can do. Every time you engage with an artwork and feel something, you found a thread of connection in that web of materials across miles and centuries. You've accessed your own time machine, teleported to another place in the world. And no matter where or when we are, art can help us understand the world around us. It makes meaning out of nature, religion, war, our bodies. Studying art history allows us to decode the messages that the people of the past couldn't put into words, and brings us closer to each other. Okay, I'm officially handing over the canon now. It's now yours to decide who gets launched into history. Wield your power wisely. Thanks for watching this episode of Crash Course Art History, which was filmed at the Indianapolis Museum of Art at Newfields, and was made with the help of all of these artistic people. If you want to help keep Crash Course free for everyone forever, join our community on Patreon.